On May 10, 2015, a tweet featuring some strange photos went viral in Japan. It stated, "I saw this at the real estate agency. It's rather terrifying." Accompanying it were 3 photos of what looked like a child in a hoodie, standing in the corner and facing the wall. Upon closer inspection, however, it wasn't a child, but a faceless doll. Other Twitter users were equally horrified by what appeared to be a crying child, but was, in reality, a doll. Which didn't make it any less scary. In fact, the more people thought about it, the stranger it got. Why was the doll there? What was it doing in a real estate, of all places? Why was it facing the wall to look like it was crying? Why was it dressed in real children's clothes? There were far more questions than answers. To make matters creepier, the tweeter reported that when his wife went back the following day, the doll had been slightly turned around, so it was now facing the customers rather than the wall. It still appeared to be crying, and it was only once you got up close and peered past the hood that you could even tell that it wasn't a real child. They had no idea why the doll was there, or what purpose it might have served, but it certainly got people talking. The viral tweet was quickly picked up by the media, and a writer from the Otakuma website contacted the agency in question. It turned out to be Van Corporation, and according to one of the staff members, the doll had actually been in the store for the last 15 to 16 years, and although it appeared to be a boy, apparently it was a girl. The doll had no name, but with all the fuss people were kicking up over the pictures, the staff were discussing whether it was time to finally give her one. On top of that, the doll wasn't even Japanese. Reportedly, one of the employees went on vacation to the United States and fell in love with the doll when they spotted it. They brought it back and placed it in the store as a type of showgirl, a lure to draw people in. Although it might have been the first time people on the internet had heard about it, locals knew the doll well, and even referred to the agency as the real estate with the doll. The staff treated the doll like a real child, changing her clothes to match the seasons, and although some people, like the tweeter, were surprised when they came in and saw her, most looked upon the doll fondly. Perhaps even more surprisingly, she wasn't alone. The doll had originally been brought over with a male doll from the same set, but he had degraded and gotten worn down over time, so they removed him from public view. Which probably begs the question of where he is now, but maybe we're better off not knowing. And as for the creepy face, or lack thereof, this was part of the doll's design from the start. She never had a face, and was supposed to be viewed from behind, as though she were hiding away from the world. Which kinda brings up a whole new set of questions, doesn't it? It seemed a major part of the mystery had been solved, but no matter how you look at it, it's a little creepy, don't you think? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. On June 12, 2011, a Nichan user noticed something strange while looking for places to rent online. As they searched for a potential residence, a certain photo caught their eye on a rental in Okayama Prefecture. It wasn't a nice garden or a large bathroom. No, it was something far more sinister and creepy. It appeared to be that of a woman hiding in a closet. Or maybe even a ghost. The picture was found on the Sumo website, a popular company used to find rentals all over Japan. The listing itself no longer exists, but users quickly saved the photo and screenshot the page, and they still talk about it to this day. What exactly was it, and how had the picture made it all the way to the website without anyone noticing anything strange? It was just the start of a puzzling enigma. Once Nichan users discovered the photo and kicked up a fuss, the real estate swiftly removed it and offered no explanation as to what it really was. The photo was gone within several hours of the post being made on Nichan and never mentioned again. Once people realized it was there, the company simply removed the photo as if it never existed. And this, of course, only fueled further discussion as to what it really was. After all, if it was something as simple as a trick of the eye, then why didn't they say as much? Why ignore it and pretend like it never existed? Several theories have popped up over the years trying to explain the photo in the absence of an official explanation. One popular theory is that the figure seen in the closet was actually a staff member. After all, this would make much more sense than capturing a ghost on film and advertising it for the world to see. If it was indeed a person, which it admittedly does look like, then a staff member is possible and easiest to explain. It appears to be a person with black hair dangling towards the ground and normal, human-colored skin, not pasty white or grey like a ghost. The only real question here would be, why? Why would a staff member be hiding in a half-open closet? If it really was a staff member, then they would be lying on the ground in the closet for a photo advertising the rental online. This brings up even more questions than it answers. Another suggestion was that it was a composite photo, but again, this makes no sense. Why would a real estate create such a photo to try and sell a property? It gained interest, sure, but as soon as it did, the photo was removed and never mentioned again. It's not really the type of attention a real estate wants either, because jikobukken, or stigmatized properties, as these so-called haunted apartments are known as, go for less money than places that haven't seen somebody die inside them. If people think the listing is haunted, they're going to want a cheaper price. Neither the real estate nor the landlord is going to want their rental to go for cheaper, especially over something that's fake. The house was actually slightly more expensive to rent than the other properties nearby, so this would seem counterintuitive. It's a possibility, of course, but logically, there doesn't seem to be any reason to create a fake ghost photo to promote a listing when that would only harm those looking to get money from it. Yet another suggestion, and possibly the easiest to believe of all, was that it wasn't human or ghost, but rather a mannequin's head sitting inside a cardboard box. Considering all other possibilities, this one seems the most realistic, and it's hard to argue otherwise. A doll's head in a box makes a lot more sense than a ghost or a staff member lying in the bottom of a cupboard, and certainly a lot more sense than the real estate photoshopping something creepy in. There was briefly some discussion that the object seen in the photo wasn't a staff member or a doll's head, but rather the landlord's granddaughter, who just happened to be playing in the house at the time the photos were being taken. This was reportedly debunked later, but because neither the real estate nor the landlord ever officially said anything, we only have the rumors posted on Nichan to go off, even here. Regardless of what was actually in the photo, nobody could figure out how it made it all the way to the website without anybody noticing it. At first glance, it clearly looks odd, and even if you don't believe in ghosts, it's hard to imagine that someone out there might not look at that photo and think, hey, that looks like a woman in a closet. I wonder if it's haunted. Some suspected it may have been the work of an angry employee, a final little dig before leaving work, which would also explain why it was deleted so quickly once discovered. It's also entirely possible that nobody noticed because, in all honesty, it didn't stand out at the time. Employees no doubt dealt with hundreds of listings a day and probably didn't look very closely at each and every photo they were handed. It's possible that whoever uploaded the photo to the listing just never saw it, or if they did, didn't think there was anything that strange about it. Nichan users also pointed out that while the photo was found on the Sumo website, Sumo was merely the real estate, the intermediary between the landlord and tenant. If they had put this photo up on purpose, deliberately trying to make the apartment seem haunted or gather attention because of something creepy, this would undoubtedly upset the landlord working with them and harm their business. At the very least, we can assume this wasn't done intentionally, regardless of whatever the thing in the photo really was. And as for why it disappeared so quickly, there's likely also a less nefarious reason behind this as well. Some users took the quick pulling of the photo to confirm that there was something wrong with it, that it really was a ghost or a bad prank that shouldn't have made it as far as it did. Yet one user pointed out a far more logical explanation. The listing gave away the apartment's address. People visiting the website from all around Japan would be able to see the address and look the location up for themselves. People sharing links on Twitter and other social media would be broadcasting that address all over, and this would, in turn, affect those living nearby and their ability to rent this particular property to a new tenant. People would start rumors of the haunted house found on the Sumo website, and once a place is known as haunted, people from all around the country will visit to try and take photos and video for their YouTube channels and social media. This creates trouble for those who live nearby, all over something as innocent as a photo. The reason it was removed so quickly is likely because somebody noticed the fuss happening on Nichan, noticed the sudden increase in website hits to that particular listing, and realized what was going on. A ghost spot was about to be born over something that might have been nothing more than a doll head in a box, and so they took measures to nip it in the bud before it got out of hand. They were still a little too slow, however, as the picture made it to several news websites the very next day. The rental, a 29-year-old house in Okayama Prefecture, was going for 47,000 yen a month, and, if you believe the photos, came with a free ghost. The articles remarked on the strange nature of the photo and the fact that the website offered no explanation for it, simply removing it and acting as if it never existed, which of course did nothing but spread the fire even further. All of a sudden, everyone wanted to see the mystery ghost photo that had been scorched off the internet. In the end, most news websites and blogs agreed that it was likely a cardboard box with a doll's head or a wig on top, and not a ghost, but once Nichan took an interest in it, the stories were hard to kill, and people still bring the photo up in random Nichan threads today. What do you think it really was? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Have you seen this picture before? It's a common photo on Nichan, often appearing in threads of the most terrifying photos people have ever seen, or photos that give people trauma. She's often called the pale, creepy woman, and she can be seen crouching in a Japanese-style room, with a uniform hanging on the closet behind her. She herself appears to be naked for some reason, and smiling at the camera. But who exactly is she? And where did the photo come from? Nobody is quite sure when the photo first appeared on the internet, or even when it first appeared on Nichan. trying to find out anything about this particular photo is like trying to dig a needle out of a swamp. According to one rumor, a regular thread was posted on Nichan one day, and the first reply was a link to this photo. There was no explanation or anything to go with it. Just a link to this entirely unrelated photo. That alone is pretty creepy when you think about it. But again, this is just a rumor, and no one's ever dug up this supposed thread. The photo has become rather popular over the years, regardless of where it came from, and some users have even participated in Photoshop battles with it, creating all sorts of nightmare fuel that's likely to stick with you for much longer than the original. But who is the woman? How did her picture become a Nichan legend? Arguments have raged over the years and few have reached a consensus. Some claimed it to be H.J. Freaks, a Korean bass guitarist known to cross-dress, occasionally with pigtails, when he plays. That might explain the uniform in the background, but upon closer inspection, they don't really look that alike. Others claimed it was actually Konno Yui, a gravure idol who started working in 2009. This would place her debut roughly around the same time as this photo started to gain fame on Nichan. This one is a little more believable to me personally, and the resemblance from certain angles is definitely there. It's not exactly a perfect match, but it's pretty darn close. Nobody has ever been able to find this particular picture posted on any of Konno's blogs or social media. However, after this picture was shared, everything on her official blog was reportedly deleted. People saved what pictures they could from it, but to date, no one has found this photo in there. The true origins behind this picture may still lie somewhere out there on the internet, but as it stands, this photo is one of the rare legends where people still don't know where it came from, why it was posted, or who it's even really of. It might be a former gravure idol, or it might not. It might have been posted in an entirely unrelated thread once, or it might not have. We don't know, and it's that mystery that keeps Nichan users coming back to it time and time again. That, or they just love trauma. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Have you ever seen this image before? If you hang around places that share Nichan content, then chances are good you've probably seen it somewhere before. It has become a favorite on the forums over the years, and it even has its own meme entitled "Kawaiiku sasete," make me cute. But where did it come from? Who is it? And why was it made? Why did it become such a popular meme on Nichan? Today we're going to take a look into the history of Kawaiiku sasete, make me cute. It's believed the image was first shared on Nichan around 2004, although nobody has been able to dig up a fixed date for when it was first shared. In general, it's referred to as Kawaiiku sasete, and the text on it translates to, "If you don't post this image on another board within 1 hour, something terrible will happen before the year is out." People have actually died by not sharing this image. It sounds like your fairly typical chain letter, or in this case, chain image. After seeing the picture, you have to share it somewhere else, or something terrible will happen to you. It's a standard trick to get something to circulate, and in this case, it worked. The image became famous all over Nichan. The image was often used in flash clips and other videos to scare people, as well in what Japan calls bikkuri videos, videos that are meant to shock or surprise you with a jump scare. You're watching something and then all of a sudden that image appears out of nowhere, usually accompanied by a loud noise. Yet it's unclear who created the image or where it first appeared. The text seems to indicate that it was always intended for Nichan, and it specifically says you must share it on another bulletin board. But considering that thousands upon thousands of threads are created and deleted daily, and this was possibly shared in the early 2000s, no one has been able to track it down. The Kawaiiku Sasete meme took off thanks to a post on December 3rd, 2007, however, titled, "This girl is really scary, so you guys should use your power to make her cute." The first comment was nothing but a link to the terrifying image. The image is, of course, not a real girl. It's a Photoshop of a traditional Japanese doll, and thanks to the low quality of the image, it has a certain cheap, grotesque charm to it. This, of course, resulted in a series of photoshopped images that you would expect to come from Nii-chan, ranging from kind of cute to even more horrifying than the original. This trend has continued over the years, with threads popping up with regularity to see what new monstrosities people can create. No one has been able to dig up the original, unphotoshopped doll image either. It's possible that whoever shared the image took the photo themselves, before editing it and sharing it on the internet. And considering that the warning states something bad will happen before the year is out, it was probably shared sometime towards the end of the year, giving the threat a sense of urgency. Yet, who made it remains unknown. The why we can assume. It's the same reason anyone creates a chainmail, to see how far it'll go. The when has been narrowed down to the early to mid-2000s, and it's been confirmed that the Kawaiiku Sasete post wasn't the first to share it. People in the same thread mentioned having seen the picture before, and blog posts from 2005 have been uncovered that share the same image. Ultimately, despite hundreds of Nii-chan users digging into the history of this popular meme, a lot remains unknown. And perhaps that's for the best, because having every single little detail of a thing explained can often take away from the charm of it, especially when that charm revolves around how mysterious it is to begin with. Kawaiiku Sasete, make me cute. Even if we don't know her true origins, we no doubt haven't seen the last of her yet. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. This week's internet mystery is an update rather than something new because a breakthrough has finally been made on an older mystery we covered on this channel. You may remember this delightfully cursed image that has done the rounds over the years, not just on the Japanese internet, but in the English sphere as well. I'll leave a link to that video in the comments if you want to go and have a quick catch-up, but in short, the image was shared on Japanese bulletin boards back in the early 2000s, and it was said that if you didn't repost it, something bad would then happen to you. Nobody was sure where the original image came from or who posted it online first, but over time it became a meme and people took on the Make Me Cute challenge to Photoshop it themselves into something even more horrifying or, on occasion, something actually cute. But it seems that Japanese internet users have finally made a breakthrough with this mystery. Well, sort of. As you are no doubt aware if you follow this series, Japanese netizens don't like to give up on a mystery. They will keep pursuing it, even for decades, until they finally, hopefully, come across an answer. Some mysteries have indeed been solved decades later, although there are still many out there without answers. Well, at least one mystery surrounding this image has finally been solved. The original image has been uncovered after all these years. Well, sort of. This is the original image that was later made into the now infamous Make Me Cute image. It was recently uncovered by a user on Futaba channel, and as you can see, it is without a doubt the same image. The hair matches perfectly, as do the nostrils, eyebrows, and face shape. After that, the eyes and mouth were edited to become the image we know today. However, interestingly enough, this apparently still isn't the original image. One user in the thread claimed that they actually remembered this same image, but when they saw it, it didn't have teeth. You can also see that one of the eyes has been coloured in black, and it's possible the other eye also had some work done to it as well. Some of the hairs across the face may have also been edited. But either way, while we're getting closer to the first, actual original image, it would appear that this still isn't it. But it's as close as we've gotten so far. As for who originally posted this image online, and why, that's still unknown. It's not uncommon for these types of photos to be used online to sell dolls, so it's likely that whoever made or owned this particular doll took a photo of it, posted it online, and then someone picked it up and made a creepy edit. These dolls can be pretty creepy looking, after all. But that original poster is still unknown almost 2 decades later. And as another interesting aside, it appears there are also scary edits of this original picture that branched off in a different direction to the "make me cute" image, such as the one you can see here. Images such as this have also done the rounds on Nichannel before, so now that the connection has been made, perhaps we'll finally get another step closer to uncovering the truth of who posted it and where it came from. But until then, now we at least have the original image on hand, or at least one version of it. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. On August 16th, 2018, visitors exiting the west exit of Shinjuku Station were treated to a rather terrifying surprise. A giant eyeball seemingly stared at them from a billboard across the street. What exactly was it? And what, if anything, was it trying to sell them? Twitter quickly lit up with various confused and terrified tweets that very same day. "I'm scared. Someone tell me what this is advertising. It's been like this the whole time." "An ad in Shinjuku? It's terrifying. What exactly is it for?" "Scary, scary, scary. That horror ad by the Shinjuku West exit is seriously terrifying. I wish they'd get rid of it." "What's with that ad featuring Sadako's eye? There's no information anywhere about what they're trying to promote." As you can see, at first glance the billboard is certainly disconcerting. Video of the ad showed that it was nothing more than a static image. It didn't change. It didn't move. There was no text, and it never advertised anything. If it was trying to sell something, it wasn't doing a very good job because nobody knew what it was for. And if it wasn't, well then, what was it? 2 days later, another Twitter user replied to one of the original tweets and claimed that the same thing happened last summer. "I told the people who worked there, but they didn't believe me. But I knew I wasn't wrong." The mystery deepened. If this user was to be believed, it wasn't the first time the mysterious eye had appeared on the Shinjuku West exit billboard. After the billboard caused a fuss on Twitter, it was quickly picked up by other media outlets. One in particular, IT Media, contacted the company running this particular billboard to find out what was going on. This, however, just made matters even more confusing. "We can't tell you anything about that advertisement." That was all they would say. Judging by their answer, the ad was, at the very least, not a mistake. It was a real ad, and it was being run purposefully. But this led straight to the next problem. What was the ad selling? The picture never changed. This wasn't a paper ad. It was a broadcast on screens that could display video, yet nothing about it ever changed. It remained that single image of a mysterious woman's eyeball, and that was it. Many, of course, assumed that it was promoting a horror movie. Sadako vs. Kayako had come out 2 years earlier, so it couldn't be for that. The newest Ring film, Sadako, released a year after this particular billboard was seen, so it wasn't for that either. Some wondered if it was for the newly released Sadako Pachinko, which was popular in the area at the time. When IT Media also contacted them about the rumors surrounding the billboard on Twitter, the company running the pachinko machines replied, We're aware of the fuss being made over the video on Twitter right now, but the ad has nothing to do with us. Another option was shot down. The company running the billboard confirmed it was an ad, but they were unable to speak of it. The company running the Sadako pachinko machines also confirmed they'd heard of the fuss happening on Twitter, yet the ad didn't belong to them either. What was going on? You can visit the billboard yourself in Google Maps, although you obviously can't see the mysterious image there now. The sign belongs to a store called Tickets Ranger, a place you can buy and sell all sorts of tickets and gift certificates. In general, the only advertisements you'll see there is from the company itself, advertising ticket sales that they have inside. This makes the mysterious eye all the more confusing. Why would it appear on a billboard almost exclusively dedicated to ticket sales? One eagle-eyed Twitter user then noticed something interesting. They recognized where that particular image was from. It wasn't Sadako. Not even close. It was a picture of an infamous doll once sold on Yahoo auctions that was said to be cursed. The owner of the doll claimed that it was born in the early 1900s and had passed through many hands before ending up in their possession. Those who were unlucky enough to end up with the doll suffered tragic accidents and constant bad luck, however, so it was believed the doll was cursed. And yet, someone still bought it for the low price of 2,100 yen, about $21, and the doll hasn't been heard of since. Its legend continued, however, and some claimed that merely looking at images of the doll was enough to curse you with bad luck as well. The auction for the doll ended years ago, so it's highly unlikely the image had anything to do with that. The doll only sold for 2,100 yen, so it was hardly worth investing the many tens of thousands of dollars necessary to advertise on a building just outside Shinjuku station either. The most likely explanation is that someone used the image without permission. But why? For what purpose? To this day, it remains unknown. The billboard of the mystery eye was seen by numerous people in August 2018, and potentially in 2017 as well. It hasn't been seen since, and nobody ever found out what, if anything, it was trying to sell. There were rumors that the billboard was nothing more than a prank by somebody who worked at the ticket shop, but this has never been confirmed. If so, however, it's very possible that this was done in order to make the ticket shop inside go viral. With so many people on the internet trying to figure out what the creepy billboard meant, it was, in essence, free advertising. More eyes on their shop than ever before. This would also explain why the store knew about the strange ad, yet refused to give any further details on it. In the end, was it nothing more than a viral stunt? It's impossible to rule out, but to this day, we still have no official answer on what that mysterious eye on the billboard was. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Around the mid-2000s, this image started making the rounds on Nichan. Said to be a traffic safety poster from Aichi Prefecture, it shows a person running onto the road and getting hit by a truck, their insides visible to the world as the sun shines brightly in the background. The text very roughly translates to, "Look out, if you run onto the road, your insides will be visible." People were very quickly disturbed. It clearly looks like something a child drew, yet it depicts a person getting torn apart by a car, and their internal organs are rather accurate. If a kid really drew this, then they had no doubt seen something terrible, and here it was being used for traffic safety posters. Or at least, so the story went. But what's the real truth behind this strange and disturbing image? This image is still famous on the internet today, and it's considered a forbidden search term. things generally only become a forbidden search term if they're grotesque or potentially traumatic, and if you happen to plug that particular term into a search engine, it'll bring up images you might not want to see. But as with many images that gain popularity on Nichan, tracking down their origins can prove difficult. In 2011, Aichi Prefecture ranked number 1 in traffic accident deaths, lending some credence to the thought that maybe, just maybe, this poster really was real. Posters are meant to inspire a visceral reaction after all, and this one certainly does that. 2 smiling people involved in a car accident with the victim's oddly accurate insides bursting out. It would certainly make me stop and think twice about running onto the road. The style and colouring suggests that this was drawn by a child, but there's no proof of this anywhere. In my personal opinion, the writing and the kanji for Aichi Prefecture in particular looks too neat to be that of a child. Perhaps someone imitating a kid or a teenager at best. The style is deliberate, but it doesn't mean that it was actually done by a kid. Dropping this forbidden search term into Google brings up all sorts of interesting results. There are numerous blog entries dating back to 2010, for example, where this image appeared in numerous magazines. Yes, it's a real image, and yes, it even made it out into the big bad world and regular old print media. But it wasn't presented as a traffic safety poster. On the contrary, it was printed in what we might best call meme magazines that reproduced funny pictures and incidents in a magazine that you could carry around and have a laugh at while waiting on the bus or train, for example. By 2010, this image was well known, but as a gag image. Going back to 2009, we can find another blog entry of someone recolouring the image that they found on Nichan. Back in 2008, it was included in a list of forbidden Nichan search terms on yet another blog. If we keep going back, it seems the earliest appearance of this image on the internet is on an image board named Pya, posted on May 9th, 2003, by someone named Admin. There's nothing to indicate where this picture came from, but judging by the quality, it was likely scanned and then uploaded. This particular image board is full of old memes and not safe for work images, so it's likely the same audience that were over on Nichan, which is then how it made its way over there. But that's where the evidence trail ends. This image board may or may not have been the first place to ever post this image on the internet, but today, it's the earliest one we can find. There's also zero information to suggest where the image might have come from. A blog post from December 2008 seems to suggest an origin, but even that is suspect. There's a small police box at the corner of the intersection. A lone police officer was working there. Suddenly, I glanced up at the bulletin board in front of the police box and stopped. There was a faded wanted poster for a vicious criminal. Next to it was the year-end traffic safety poster. As you know, I live in Aichi, which is the prefecture with the most traffic accidents in all of Japan. This is, of course, a great disgrace. At the end of each year, traffic enforcement gets more and more harsh. This poster, it looked like an elementary school student had drawn it, and it was a call for traffic safety. But the depiction of the internal organs, what a job. Is such a grotesque poster really okay to display? The post goes on about the gross visuals of the poster and how they hope people in Aichi can stop having so many accidents. But the thing is, the user never once posted a picture of the poster on the police box bulletin board. In fact, they reposted the exact same image from the Pya image board, the same image already circulating the internet. It's a little difficult to take this at face value, when anyone could have made this story up and shared an image already freely available on the internet. Even in 2008, it would have been terribly easy to take a picture with one's phone and share that, but they didn't. They shared the same image already on the internet. It's probably safe to say that this story is fake. But that leaves us back at square one. In the end, we still don't know where this image came from, for what purpose it was made, and who made it. The best guess is that someone, an adult, drew this in a childish style and then uploaded it to the internet for giggles. The contrast of the childish style and smiling faces with the victim's insides falling out certainly makes it memorable and, for a lot of people, no doubt made them laugh as well. It's absurd, and Ni-chan loves absurd pictures. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. This week's internet mystery is actually one that started out in the real world, before confused citizens took to the internet to find out just what on earth was going on. Back in 2009, images of this man started popping up on telephone poles, fences, etc. around Osaka. Each of the posters and stickers were slightly different, using different images of the same elderly man with some text underneath. This ranged from "Genki desu ka? Renraku Matsu," which translates to "Are you okay? I'll wait for your call," to Renraku Matsumura. This is a little more difficult to translate because it doesn't really mean anything. It's a combination of the above, Renraku Matsu, I'll wait for you to contact me, and Matsumura, which is a common surname. Some posters even had the combo. Genki desu ka? Renraku Matsumura. Matsu was occasionally spelt with plain hiragana, the phonetic alphabet, and sometimes with kanji, using the kanji to mean wait. But what did it all mean? Who was putting the posters and stickers up, and why? Twitter users around 2009 and 2010 took to sharing photos of the mysterious posters online, trying to find out if anyone else knew what was going on. The thing was, nobody did. The posters didn't make much sense and nobody knew who was putting them up. Even weirder, a lot of them ended up in hard-to-reach places, such as the top of shrine roofs or high up on telephone poles that normal people couldn't reach. There have, over the years, been several theories as to what these posters might be. Perhaps the most obvious is that they're a missing person poster. After all, several of them literally say, "I'll wait for you to contact me." Did an elderly man go missing from his family? Or perhaps it was an old friend looking to get in contact with a buddy that they hadn't seen in decades. The problem with this theory, though, is that there's no information on the posters about who might be looking for this person or how to get in contact with them. There's no name, no phone number, no plea to contact the police. Nothing. If the man in the posters really had gone missing and people were looking for him, then the posters were an incredibly poor attempt at finding him. There has been one version with a name, Kasuya Takashi, but searching for the name has never brought up any useful information and nobody has ever come forward claiming to know the man either. Whether it's the name of the person in the photo or something else entirely, still remains a mystery. A similar theory suggests that it's actually the other way around and it's not the old man's family looking for him, but the old man himself looking for his family. Perhaps the old man was going senile or was otherwise a little eccentric, and by putting the images of himself up around town with the bizarre messages beneath them, he was hoping for his family to get in contact with him. It seems a little far-fetched, but it's certainly a possibility. Another possibility was that it was the work of shady debt collectors. Loan sharks would have little need to put their contact information or a name on the posters if they were looking for someone, because that person would know very well who was after them and why. Did the man borrow money from some shady lenders and then run out, perhaps? It still doesn't really explain the nonsensical Renraku Matsumura, but it's slightly more plausible than family members looking for the man. Others have also pointed out that it's somewhat similar to the sumo wrestler sticker that also became a hot topic of conversation in 2008 and 2009. These mysterious stickers started popping up all over Tokyo, baffling people as to what they meant. Two different graffiti artists became the prime suspects. Amando, whose work looks suspiciously similar to the sumo wrestler design, and QP, an artist who incorporates 3 dots into his work, just like the sumo wrestler stickers had. In the end, nothing concrete was ever dug up about the stickers or what they meant, but it's likely they were part of an art project and little more. So then, were the Renraku Matsumura posters being done in the same vein? Were they also nothing more than a public art project meant to confuse and get people talking? The sumo wrestler stickers were famous in the Tokyo area, but these posters and stickers of the elderly man were concentrated in the Osaka area. Was someone simply trying to create a Kansai version of those stickers instead? It's also possible that someone was just screwing around and doing it to mess with people. Maybe it was inspired by the Tokyo sumo wrestler stickers, or maybe not, but maybe there was no meaning to it at all. Maybe someone was bored, put the posters around town and waited for people to post confused messages on social media about it. If this was the goal all along, then they were successful, because people still talk about it today. Another interesting thing to note is the pure range of images of the same old man. Whoever was making them, they seemingly had hundreds of images of the same man, suggesting either the man himself or someone close to him was doing it. Yet, no one has ever come forward claiming to know who the man is, which is a little odd considering how numerous the posters were and how much coverage they've had on the internet since. These have mainly been concentrated in the Osaka area, yet nobody from there seems to recognize the man. Where did all of these photos come from? Did the elderly man live in a different area of the country entirely? This would explain why nobody in the local area recognized him, but then it begs the question, where were the photos coming from? If we assume it was some sort of art project or just someone out trolling, then perhaps the old man was their actual father or grandfather who lived in another part of the country. This would explain why no locals knew him and how they would have access to so many photos of the same person. Whether the elderly man knew his images were being used for posters all over Osaka is another question entirely though. If that really was what was happening. There's also the possibility that the elderly man in the pictures had already passed away by the time they were being posted around town. Numerous theories have been discussed over the years as to what the Renraku Matsumura posters really might be. A lost old man, someone on the run from debt, an art project, a troll, a secret communication method between homeless people. If you can think of it, someone has probably brought it up before. Some have even compared it to the mysterious vinyl string incident that also took place in Osaka in the 1990s, which was also never explained. Various strings were tied around poles all across the city in varying colours, but nobody ever found out who was doing it or why. This seemed to be the same MO, but with posters and stickers rather than string. And, much like the vinyl strings, this incident remains a mystery as well. Naturally, it didn't take the internet long to turn it into a meme, and these days you can even buy the Renraku Matsumura stickers for yourself, to post around town or wherever you might like. But who exactly the old man is, and who may or may not have been waiting for him to contact them, remains up in the air. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. During the mid to late 2000s, this particular image started doing the rounds on the Japanese internet. It's a picture of a poster stuck to a telephone pole close to some railway tracks. In the picture, you can see a woman holding a child, and beneath it, a large block of text. At first glance, it might seem like a missing persons poster, but once you take a closer look at the text, the whole thing becomes a lot more terrifying. First, The text is entirely in hiragana. Japanese children start learning kanji in the very first grade of school, so something written entirely in hiragana, the phonetic system, is generally relegated to extremely young children, or a particular stylistic choice. The characters are a little messy, but otherwise well formed, so it's unlikely the handwriting of a child. Someone, likely a teenager or adult, chose to write this way deliberately. Why? The actual content of the text doesn't make matters any easier. It's full of commas in weird places and clear spelling and grammatical mistakes. For instance, the first line says, "Sanzan, shito, no koto o damashite." As is, Japanese speakers can guess what this sentence is trying to say, but only once they look past the mistakes. If you change shito into hito and correct the o into the correct particle marker, then the sentence would say something like, "You have fooled many people." If we translate the entire message, accounting for the mistakes, it sounds a little something like this. "I think it's awful that you're getting a divorce after fooling so many people. You also say it's not your responsibility that I was arrested by the police, when it really was. Whenever we fight, you always lie and say you're not in the wrong and I'm the one who's lying. I end up wanting to lay my hands on you, and it's your fault our family has gone crazy. I think you're responsible for my grandfather dying too." The picture being painted here isn't a pretty one. Whoever this man is, he appears to be blaming the woman in the photo, presumably his wife, for getting him arrested and breaking their family apart. He accuses her of deceiving everyone, driving their family crazy, and even for the death of his grandfather. Why all of this was written in hiragana and then posted on a telephone pole, however, remains a mystery. The first appearance of this image on the internet appears to be a blog entry from March 10, 2006. The blog features numerous weird, strange, and occultish images, but doesn't give a whole lot of information on what exactly this is. The blogger points out how weird the text composition is and attempts to translate it into regular Japanese himself, before remarking that, at the end of the day, humans are far more terrifying than ghosts or monsters. The image was then shared on Channel and other various social media over the years, but nobody has ever been able to figure out who created the poster and why. There's no information on where the photo was taken, nor can anything be extracted from the metadata. There's nothing distinguishing in the photo itself, and the only thing that can be made is a date on the photo of the woman, March 3, 2002. This lets us know when that particular photo was taken, but not much else. The blogger who shared the photo mentions on his page that he's from Yamagata, so if he was the person who took the photo, then we can safely assume that it's likely from there. But there's nothing indicating that he took this photo himself. The blog is full of random images, some apparently taken by himself, but many others gathered from around the internet, so there's no way to know for sure. Others have pointed out that some of the words used in the poster likely come from the Tochigi dialect, meaning that the poster may have come from that region instead. The usage of dabe and toto are markers of this. Toto is another way of saying zutto in regular Japanese, describing something that continues for a long time, while dabe is another way of saying desho, a way of ending a sentence like, right? Don't you agree? But who created it, and why? If we take the text on this poster at face value, it appears to be an extremely upset husband trying to get back at his wife after he was arrested. maybe for domestic violence. Perhaps the poster was an attempt at shaming her, a last-ditch effort from a mind that had snapped after years of an unhappy relationship. That might also explain the strange use of hiragana, odd commas, and spelling mistakes. There's also the possibility of someone trying to get back at the woman in the picture. Perhaps a local who, for whatever reason, had a beef with the woman and wanted to make her look bad. This seems a little excessive and a rather obtuse way of going about it, sure, but stranger things have happened. Another possibility is that the poster was written by a foreigner. This could again explain why the entire thing is written in the simple hiragana script and features several mistakes that you wouldn't expect a native speaker to make. It could also explain the steady but still somewhat messy hand it's written in. It's not uncommon for partners in international marriages in Japan to not speak any Japanese at all, or to speak it quite poorly. Whether this is the case here or not, who knows, but it's certainly a possibility. If not, however, then the most likely answer is once again a troll. Someone who deliberately created the poster to confuse and get a rise out of people, knowing that at some point someone would notice it, take a picture, and then share it on the internet. The internet does love a good mystery after all, as this entire series can attest to. What better way to make something more mysterious than by writing it all in hiragana and peppering it with odd mistakes? But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. This week's mystery is a fairly recent one, so let's head right on in. Starting in January this year, mysterious threads started popping up all over Go Channel with the title Me no Shi, which roughly translates to I poem or I poetry. These threads contain nothing but links to numerous images that, to be honest, didn't make a lot of sense. For example, one was a blank page with the number 8 drawn in various coloured crayons. Another appeared to be a scan of a newspaper, with a made-up kanji scribbled in red and black over the top, with hints of black stick figures underneath. Yet another had badly formed hiragana drawn in crayon, while another featured red and black stick figures, also drawn in crayon, that had been smudged before scanning. The sheer amount of images shared makes it impossible to show all of them here, but at a glance they were both creepy and confusing. The main themes that most images shared in common were old newspaper articles, letters and objects scribbled in crayon or pen, and stick figures. Other than that, the only thing that you could say they have in common is that they didn't have anything in common. Naturally, other users were confused and somewhat freaked out by these threads. Some wondered if they were being cursed. Others wondered if the original poster was okay. Most just wanted to know what on earth was going on. Why was this person sharing endless confusing images on Go Channel? Was there some hidden meaning behind the posts? Why did he title them all I Poetry? Was this a look into a broken mind, or perhaps somebody's art project? The strange I Poetry threads were picked up by the Occult Forum on February 7, when it was shared in a thread titled, "Let's find creepy Go Channel threads and investigate them." Yet several weeks passed without any real answers. Nobody could figure out who it might be and why they were doing it. It wasn't until February 28th that someone on an entirely different board linked the strange images to Kaneko Yuki, a musician. A YouTube video posted in 2013 promoting his upcoming album matched the style of these strange images exactly. I'll leave a link in the comments if you want to check that out for yourself. But if these strange images really were connected to this particular musician, who only released that one album back in 2013, then why? How were they connected, and why were the images being shared almost a decade later? It's unlikely they were promotion for an 8-year-old album, and the artist hasn't come out with anything new recently either. He currently works as a music producer, but hasn't put out anything else as a solo musician. However, it is interesting to note that Kaneko himself referred to the album as poetry, and the songs on it are essentially poetry read out loud, while harsh beats play in the background. In an interview held in 2014, the interviewer remarked that Kaneko, as an artist, seemed somewhat fed up with the mass media's handling of social issues and artists' inabilities to use black humour and erotic, grotesque nonsense in the modern age. So, with this in mind, could it be possible that the poetry being posted around various forums on Go Channel was actually being done by Kaneko himself? Or at the very least, someone inspired by him? As with most things on Ni Channel and its many variants, there's always a chance, sure. But unless he comes out specifically to say that it was him, we may never know. It's a possibility, yeah, but the large gap from Kaneko's album of eclectic poetry in 2013, until now, almost a decade later, just makes matters even more confusing. Another possibility brought up by several users was that the poster was actually a webmaster by the name of Kappa. They drew parallels in the pictures to the strange art he used to post on a website that is sadly no longer accessible, although several screen captures of it are still floating around. But here's where things get interesting again. It turns out that one of the images on Kappa's website matches exactly an image that Kaneko shared on his Instagram last year. Were Kaneko and Kappa actually the same person? Go Channel certainly thought so. Another user discovered that one image in particular shared similarities to the cover of Shinsei Toshi, a poetry collection by Suzuki Shiroyasu. Tweets were found on Kaneko's Twitter from back in 2013, where he spoke of his deep admiration for Suzuki's work. Could it be a coincidence? Of course. The similarities are striking, especially when combined with everything else, but at the end of the day, both images are a collection of lines and scribbles. Other users pointed out that Kaneko's antics on social media, Twitter in particular, are often hard to decipher, and in polite terms, called him a madman. Considering the way he uses his public profile, would it really be that hard to put it past him to then post all of these images anonymously to perhaps stir up some drama, or maybe just kill some boredom? When you look at the whole picture, it's certainly a good possibility. One or two coincidences are easy to brush away, but when they keep mounting, it's not hard to assume there's a fire behind the smoke. At present, this mystery technically remains a mystery, because nobody has ever stepped up claiming to be the person posting the images. This user never once responded to any comments or questions, and the only thing they ever posted was links to images across entirely unrelated forums on Go Channel in January and February 2021. Through serious detective work, users banded together and, several weeks later, determined that it was likely the work of Kaneko. But in the end, there's no definitive proof. Either way, the saga of the poetry is a good reminder that it's hard to pull a fast one on Go Channel. Merely through links to strange pictures with no identifying information, users were able to connect them to a music producer who may or may not have moonlighted as an artist of the absurd on the internet roughly a decade earlier as well. Was he truly responsible for these images? We can't say for certain, but the open-ended nature of these mysteries with a tantalizing hint of what could potentially be is generally what makes them so interesting to begin with. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. On October 7th, 2013, someone posted the following question on Yahoo Answers. A hole opened in my roof 3 or 4 months ago, and something black started hanging out of it. I cleaned it with the vacuum cleaner, but it started coming out again. At first there was just one hole, and now there are 5. What on earth is it? My mum says it's kind of powdery. Please help. The user shared an image which you can see here. This question only received 2 answers. The best was simple and straight to the point. That's scary. I wonder what's on the other side of the roof. Another person suggested they should fill the holes with cork, seeing as cork is white and it wouldn't be very noticeable. The original poster then added a short addition to their original question. Thank you for the comments. It's scary, isn't it? I tried covering it with tape, but it still came through. When I tried several layers, the holes started appearing in other places. Even if there's nothing there when I go to bed, in the morning it looks something like this. If anyone knows what's going on, please tell me. Right off the bat, it's a strange situation. This person noticed some black stuff coming out of their roof, at first from 1 hole, but then growing to 5 holes. They had tried cleaning it off, but it returned. They tried covering it with tape, but it still pushed through. When they used several layers of tape, new holes appeared elsewhere. According to their mother, the substance was kind of powdery. What on earth was it, and where was it coming from? The intriguing question was soon picked up around various other places on the internet, and commenters pointed out 2 strange points with the original post. First, the poster's usage of numbers. For example, they said, ana ga hitotsu. This is how you would say 1 hole, but the way the poster wrote this was odd. Normally it would be written with the kanji for 1, followed by the hiragana character for tsu, or in some cases, the Arabic letter 1, also followed by a tsu. However, this person wrote it as 0, 1, followed by tsu. They did the same for 5 as well. Numbers are very, very rarely written this way, and it made people suspicious. Why was it written so strangely? Second, the roof itself. As you can see from the photo, it's white, with a fancy design that you might see in an old Western house or something similar. It's certainly not something you'd see in a lot of Japanese homes, so was this even in Japan to begin with? Had the poster found the image on the internet and decided to create a scary story around it? It's fake, one channel user claimed. The person just recently opened an account and they posted the same question twice. Neither has responses. I just can't think of it being anything other than a troll. Others pointed out that they should be calling a trader or contractor to check it out, not posting about it on the internet. Even more couldn't get past the weird usage of numbers and the very un-Japanese-like roof. But, according to some, neither of these things was actually that weird. Those types of roofs were apparently common 30 years prior, and numerous people commented that their own homes or their parents' homes used to look just like that before being renovated. This would have been around the 1970s and 80s when they were constructed, so they might not be common these days, but houses with that type of design still existed. And the weird usage of numbers was apparently a quirk of people who worked in the sciences, simply because they were so used to writing zeros in front of numbers to accurately record dates and such. So, if we assume that the person posting the photo was actually telling the truth, that brings us to the next question. What exactly was the black stuff leaking from their roof? One of the most common theories was that it was a type of bug. One person who worked in construction claimed the substance looked just like termites. He claimed to have seen this same substance in various houses afflicted with termite damage, and if they ran out of wood to eat, they would create paths looking for more. This was why more and more holes continued to appear in her ceiling, and it would fit with the mother saying it felt powdery. The problem with this theory, however, is that most termite damage tends to appear more white and ashy in colour than the pure black we can see in the picture. Another person, whose father worked in real estate, claimed this type of scene was common in older houses. The tar used to build the roof would start to leak as the house deteriorated, but because roofs were rather strong, they could still hold up for quite some time, even with everything collapsing above them. It would only be a matter of time until the roof gave out too, and the tar seeping through was very much not a good sign. What was the black stuff leaking from the roof? It was most likely related to the construction and age of the house, and this would fit with the style of roof being the same as those built many decades earlier. Only the person living there would be able to figure it out, but they never posted again, so the answer remains a mystery to this day. However, 2 years later, on March 3rd, 2015, another user on Yahoo Answers posted another photo that was eerily similar. Something black suddenly started coming out of my roof. What is this? Does anyone know? There was nothing there when I went to sleep, but when I woke up, there it was. One appears during a single night. It doesn't happen every day, but once I've started to forget about it, another one will appear. The length varies. It's about 3 centimeters now, but the shortest was only 5 millimeters. It crumbles easily when you touch it, and it's kind of powdery, like ash. By the way, this is the roof on the first floor. Does anyone know what it is? Dust? Dirt? The best answer to this question claimed that this very same problem was featured on Tante Night Scoop once, and they determined dust can accumulate in spider webs, and as this dust gathers over the years, it starts to push down and seep out through the gaps in the roof. As we can see with this second picture, this is exactly where the black substance is leaking from. In this case, it's likely the attic or floor above the roof was incredibly dusty and it was starting to seep through. Neither question was ever followed up with an official answer, so both technically remain mysteries. The most likely answer, however, isn't supernatural, but simply old buildings that were deteriorating and creating some creepy yet very natural phenomena as they did so. Numerous people who worked in construction and real estate shared their thoughts on how this type of phenomenon wasn't all that uncommon, and in the first case, it might have even been a combination of leaking black tar and termites. The house certainly looked old enough for it. But what do you guys think about this one? What could that black stuff leaking out of the roof really have been? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. On November 5th last year, a Twitter user shared the following. About the strange figure captured on the Izu skyline live camera. November 1st, 2020, 6 AM. It's so bright and yet the figure is all black. It's creepy. Also appears to be slightly bigger than a normal person. Is there anyone who knows more about this? The user then provided a link and an image, which you can see here. The Izu skyline is a toll road that can be found in Shizuoka Prefecture, home of quite a few of the mysteries we've featured on this series. And, as the tweeter mentioned, it also has a live cam that's updated once every hour from 6 AM to 6 PM. This shows off just one part of the road with Mount Fuji in the background, making for quite the breathtaking sight. But on this particular day, the camera also managed to catch something else. What on earth was it? First things first, this image can no longer be found on the Izu Skyline website. The pictures only stay up for a week before they're removed, and the Twitter user posted this image several days after it apparently appeared. The tweet only picked up steam after people were no longer able to view the image for themselves on the website, however, and the Wayback Machine, for some reason, only shows the images from November 5 on November 1st instead. So, did it actually exist? That's part of the mystery. For the purposes of this video, let's assume that yes, it did exist and it wasn't a simple Photoshop. As I mentioned before, Izu Skyline is a toll road, but between the hours of 10 PM and 6 AM, people are allowed to use it free of charge. The live cam takes its first picture of the day right as the tolls open again. So, if someone was to appear on camera then, they would have easy and free access to the road. Very doable for anyone. The live cam is also somewhat well known, and the location not hard to gather. So, if someone deliberately wanted to appear on it, then it wouldn't be hard to do, and 6 AM would be a great time for it. Almost no cars on the road, so you're free to hang around and wait for 6 AM and the first shot of the day. So, the first problem of access to the time and location is a no-brainer. Anyone could get themselves into position for the picture. Next, the original Twitter user mentioned the figure appeared to be large, bigger than a regular person. Could this be true? Thankfully, there are plenty of pictures from this angle to compare the size to cars and signs, and other Twitter users gathered the figure was probably in the 165 to 175 centimeter range. Fairly average height for a man in Japan. So, at the second step, also very doable. Next, the fact that the figure has no shadow managed to freak a lot of people out. If the image was photoshopped, then no shadow would make perfect sense. But if someone was really standing there, wouldn't they have a shadow? Well, not really. The photo was taken at 6 AM on the dot on November 1st. Sunrise on that particular day wasn't until roughly 10 minutes later, so at this particular time you wouldn't expect to see any shadows at all. This also passes the test. Finally, the entirely black figure. How could this be possible? Again, quite easily. Some people pointed out that it could be a motorbike rider in all black, or perhaps even someone deliberately wearing black spandex or leotards because they were trying to get caught on camera. If you've seen my bizarre Japanese street views video, then you'll know that it's also not that uncommon for people in Japan to dress up in something strange deliberately to get caught on camera, and even chase them down if necessary to make sure they appear. This could very easily be the case here as well, and they don't even have to do any chasing for this one. It's a still cam in a fixed location. It's also interesting to note that the person was caught at 6 AM on November 1st, the morning after Halloween. This makes it even easier to believe that someone may have been out in an all-black costume and perhaps on their way home when they decided to drop by and troll a live cam they knew would start filming nearby. So, at the end of the day, what exactly was the dark figure on the road? Well, assuming the photo wasn't edited in any way, it was likely just a person trying to get captured by the live cam they knew took a picture at 6 AM every morning. There's nothing unrealistic or impossible about it. It just looks real creepy because the person is wearing black from head to toe. Their bike or car could very easily be parked out of the camera's view, and knowing that the camera takes a photo at 6 AM on the dot would make it very easy to prepare for the shot. Was it a ghost or shadow man? Probably not. But a person trying to get captured on film deliberately to create some buzz? That's far more likely. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Have you ever seen this picture before? It's especially common around the dark corners of the Japanese internet and places like Ni-channel. The Japanese says, "Please don't die anymore, Junichi," and it regularly shows up in scary picture threads and other such places even today. But what exactly is this a picture of? Who is Junichi, and why is he apparently dying so much that someone erected a sign asking him to stop? First things first, this sign is quite old and first made waves several decades ago. It was said to be located near the old Zenba Tunnel in Kanagawa, a site that soon became a popular ghost spot because of the story behind the sign. According to the rumors, a young man by the name of Junichi died in a motorcycle accident on that very same spot. He was only 17 years old at the time, but after his death, more and more people started to have accidents in the area. The cause always seemed to be the same. They all reported a young man standing on the road, who they swerved to avoid hitting. But was it true? Was any of it true? Did the sign really exist? Did Junichi really exist? Did he die on that spot, and was his spirit constantly dying over and over because he was unable to move on? Or was it all one grand lie? Well, yes and no. As I said earlier, this picture of the sign has been around for decades, and yes, the sign itself was real. It was featured on television at the time, which is where most pictures of the sign come from. It's obviously no longer up, but it was erected in 1989 by Junichi's father. So yes, that part of the story was true as well. Junichi was a young man who died in a motorcycle accident on that spot, and so his father put the sign up in his memory. But what did it mean? Please don't die anymore, Junichi. Was the story behind the sign true as well? Were people constantly crashing because they saw a young man standing in the middle of the road who disappeared immediately after? Was Junichi haunting the same spot he died on, dying over and over in endless car crashes? Well, not really. Junichi's father was actually asked about the sign back in the day, something that most people apparently didn't hear of, and according to him, the sign was supposed to express Junichi's desire that no more people die like he did. Meaning, the sign was basically missing a comma or a from at the end. It wasn't a plea from a father for the spirit of his son to move on and stop dying in endless accidents, but rather the father trying to convey a message from his son so that no more would die like he did. Please don't die in accidents anymore like I did. From Junichi. Of course, that didn't come across so well in the sign, and naturally, once people learnt that a young man had died there and that the sign was dedicated to him, all sorts of rumours started to spread. Rumours that are still around over 3 decades later. And that is the very simple truth behind the sign that has baffled many for decades. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. The Fukuchiyama derailment has featured on this channel before, so I'll leave a link in the comments if you want to get up to speed on what happened there. But this week, we're taking a look at a mystery that popped up not too long after that horrifying incident. A mystery that the internet latched onto and has spent quite some time trying to solve. This week, we're looking at the mystery of the Fukuchiyama ghost photo. To give some very brief background details, at 9:19 AM on April 25th, 2005, a train on the Fukuchiyama line in Hyogo Prefecture was going too fast when it went around a corner, and it derailed, ploughing into a building and killing 107 of the roughly 700 people who were on board at the time. I recommend checking out the Toshiden episode if you want the full details of what happened and how the train actually derailed. But the disaster was one of the worst train accidents in Japanese history. This particular mystery came about from a single photo, which you can see here. It's a shot of one of the train cars in the aftermath, and you can see 2 people still inside the wreckage. Of course, considering the nature of the accident and how many people died or were injured, many assumed the photo to actually be a ghost photo, and these 2 figures you can see were actually ghosts. But was it true? What's really going on here? According to rumours being passed around online at the time, this photo was taken immediately after the accident and shows the second train car. The first train car slid entirely into the building it collided with and took several days to remove, while the second slammed into the corner of the building and was almost entirely crushed due to the weight of the third and fourth cars pushing into it. With that knowledge in mind, then naturally the people in the photo had to be ghosts, right? How could anybody survive a car being crushed like that? As such, a rumour was born that the 2 figures you can see in the photo had actually passed away in the accident, and their spirits were captured on film after the fact. But even if we set aside whether you believe in ghosts or not, does this photo hold up to scrutiny? Well, not really. As you can see from the watermark, this photo is actually a screen cap from a television show called The Wide. This was a gossip show that aired weekdays from 1993 to 2007. The train derailment was, of course, massive news at the time, so naturally, the gossip shows were talking about it too. There is sadly no existing footage of this particular episode, at least not that anyone has decided to put online yet. All we have is the picture and the memories of those who watched it happen at the time. So, what did people remember of this particular photo from the time, before it got turned into a ghost photo by the internet? Well, according to one person, the photo was actually taken by a passenger who was in the train's fourth car at the time of the crash, a man by the name of Miyamoto-san. How did people know this? Well, he appeared in an interview after the incident, talking about what happened and what he'd seen. And, according to the memories of those who saw the show live, both women in the photo were also rescued. They were very much alive, not ghosts, and were helped out by rescue workers not too long after the photo was taken. Now, just like the rumours of the photo being a ghost photo, there's zero proof of either of these things being true as well. It seems far more likely that this is true, of course, but unless we have the actual footage we can view ourselves, all we have to rely on is the word of people who claim to watch the show as it happened and then shared their memories online. Well, mostly, anyway. There's an important piece of evidence that backs these claims up, and it can be found fairly easily online these days. By typing derailment accident photos into Google in Japanese, you'll find an assortment of images from the Fukuchiyama incident. In the third line of photos, you can find a woman being rescued from a train who, if you've seen the ghost photo, looks eerily similar to the person on the bottom right. I say eerily similar, but if you put the photos next to each other, it's very clearly the same train car and the same woman being rescued. All the details match up. The woman's haircut and jacket. The train door with the other door behind it. The handholds behind the woman's head. All of it matches. Not only was this woman rescued, but she apparently also gave an interview shortly thereafter, and was very much alive, and not a ghost. If we look at wider shots of the incident, we can also see the location of the third and fourth cars in relation to the second, which was crushed against the building. The third car is rather crushed, but the fourth and fifth escaped mostly unscathed. It's not hard to believe that Miyamoto-san was able to step out of the fourth car and snap this photo as he was passing by. Interestingly, this isn't the only famous ghost photo from this particular incident. There's another, perhaps slightly less well known, that you can see right here. As you can see in the highlighted section, people believe that you can see the warped and twisted face of a ghost in the window of the third train car. This one is even easier to debunk, however. We can see the window is reflecting the fourth train car in front of it, and the white and red are the same colour and placement as the stickers on the train doors that we can see in other photos. Yes, it somewhat looks like a face if you don't scrutinise it very closely, but it quickly falls apart once you do. And that's the mystery of not one, but two ghost photos from the Fukuchiyama derailment. What did you guys think of this one? Did they look like ghost photos to you? What other famous ghost photos do you think might actually be real? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Have you ever seen this photo before? Take a close look at it. Real close. Even closer. Is there anything about it that strikes you as odd? Anything that seems rather off? Look closely. Before long, you might start to feel that sense of uncanny valley. It looks real, but There's something about it that's just a little too odd. Or maybe it doesn't make you feel anything at all. Who knows? This photo is rather infamous on Nichannel and other similar websites, and it's been around for at least a decade now. It doesn't especially have a name, but it often pops up in threads where people share scary or unsettling photos. Now, at first glance, you're likely wondering, why? What exactly is it about this photo that's so scary? After all, it's simply a woman sitting on a train, looking directly at the camera. But is that really all? Did you really look closely? Take another look. Let it all sink in. Have you figured it out yet? Much like the When You Understand series that I also run on this channel, this photo is also shared as an When You Understand photo. At first glance, it appears perfectly normal. But once you understand what's going on, it suddenly becomes a whole lot creepier. Have you figured it out yet? But even once you know, there's still a lot of mystery surrounding this photo and how it came to be, so let's dig in and take a look. First, and perhaps most importantly right now, what exactly is it about this photo that makes it scary? What's the hidden secret that makes it so commonly shared across Nichannel? Well, if you've got a good eye, or you're just familiar with this type of thing and can spot the signs, this photo has been edited. It's a rather well done Photoshop. Here is the original photo. It's a woman looking at her phone on the train. Next to her, we can see a pink umbrella, and on the door is a Hello Kitty sticker. Although it's unknown when exactly this was first shared online, it has been floating around as somewhat common knowledge on Nichannel since at least 2015. If we compare it to the photoshopped image, we can see that most of the photo is exactly the same, but some important changes have been made. First and foremost, the woman's face. It was replaced with another woman entirely, this one seemingly looking straight at you. Her upper body was also slightly changed, so rather than holding her phone up, her arms are now crossed over her bag. Finally, the scenery outside the windows has also been changed, likely lifted from the window with the Hello Kitty sticker and then resized and stretched to look new and create a sense of movement. She is on a train after all. Now does that strange feeling when you looked at the original image make sense? It's because it was edited, but in minor ways that, when looked at as a whole, seem normal, but have little imperfections here and there. The uncanny valley effect. But knowing that the image was edited, that brings us to our next question. Why? Who edited this picture? And why? And that's where the real mystery comes in. Nobody knows. Like numerous other mysterious images shared across Nichannel, users have spent years trying to uncover the truth behind it. Records of the image can be found all the way back in 2010, where it was apparently already well known, so it's possible it has been around since even earlier than that. Over the years, one piece of information has been uncovered about the photo's origins. The original photo, that is. And that's all thanks to the Hello Kitty sticker on the door. According to Wikipedia, this particular sticker was used on the Keio line in Tokyo from 1997 to 2013. And the flip phone the woman is using also started to fall out of popularity early in the 2010s as well, the period when smartphones started to become more commonplace. Considering that evidence exists of the edited photo from 2010, we can likely place it somewhere around then, give or take a few years. As for the woman whose face was edited into the photo, there have also been a few theories about that as well. Some have proposed that the woman's face actually came from a missing persons poster, perhaps because of the way she's looking dead on at the camera and not smiling. Others claim it's actually Takagi Chikako, a variety personality who was active in Japan from 2002 until just recently. If you compare her face from this photo book cover that was released in 2004, for example, you can certainly see a resemblance to her younger days. Why the photo was edited remains unknown to this day, but the most likely answer was to create a stir, which is exactly what it did. Scary picture threads are extremely common on Nichannel, and after a while, you reach a point where you've seen them all. As such, people like to try and find new images, or in some cases, create them themselves. And this one worked out spectacularly, because even today there are still people who haven't seen the original, nor even realize that it was edited in the first place. But when a creepy photo thread comes around, chances are high that this photo will end up getting shared somewhere in there. In the end, we have a photo that was taken somewhere around 2010, potentially a little earlier, of a woman looking at her flip phone on the Keio line in Tokyo. The photo was likely taken without her knowledge, and then shared online, where someone else picked it up and decided to do a little photoshopping. They changed the woman's face, her pose, and the scenery outside the train, while leaving everything else intact. It creates a nifty uncanny valley feel that has unsettled Nichannel users for over a decade now. It's quite a good Photoshop, and many people didn't even realize that it wasn't the original image. Most assumed the woman was simply upset because she saw someone taking a photo of her without permission, hence her somewhat blank expression. But knowing the truth doesn't make the photo any less strange either. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. What is this? Bird repellent? So started a thread titled, "I found this on a little known mountain," posted on August 20th, 2018. It was accompanied by the picture you can see here. You can see various feathers, likely those of a crow, tied in a circle around a tree. Whatever it was, it seemed ominous and probably not something the user should hang around. The poster revealed he visited the mountain, somewhere in Kyushu, to catch some bugs, as is the thing to do during summer, when he stumbled across this strange sight. He was wondering if it was perhaps something to keep the crows away, but he found this deep in the mountains where such things wouldn't really be necessary. That's that famous curse," one person replied. "Hey, is that your mum in the back?" replied another. This of course scared the poster, and apparently even further into the mountains there was an observatory where somebody once hung themselves, meaning there was a ghost spot in the vicinity, at the very least. But that didn't explain the feathers, who put them there, and perhaps most importantly, why? "Did you go straight home?" someone asked. "Of course. I was terrified, so I couldn't stay there any longer. I'm glad it was during the day," the poster replied. "It's just a landmark," someone else replied. "You should go and get cleansed. How dare you show us something so horrible right after the Yobon holidays have ended," replied another. Then another person asked some rather off-putting questions. "Did you go alone? Did anyone else see it? Did you talk to anyone about it after returning home? Do you know something about it? I spoke to some people about it, but this is my first time showing anyone the photo," the poster replied. "I want to believe that it's just a landmark or to keep the crows away, but would it really be necessary to go this far? That's like a whole crow there, right?" If you post a creepy photo on Nichannel, then the odds are you'll get nothing but troll replies in response. What else could it be but a curse? Why did you go there? Now you need to see a priest to get cleansed. It's the same every time. But even with all the joke comments, that still didn't explain what it could be. If we assume for a moment that the original poster didn't create it himself, then how could it possibly be explained? One user suggested that it actually was to keep the crows away. Using a single feather or two wouldn't do much good, and they would simply get carried off by other small animals or bugs. Large birds could cause harm to the trees, so these feathers would make it seem like the area was already inhabited and keep other birds out. So it's to keep the crows away and not something occultish then, the original poster replied. Either way, I can't find any other pictures that look like this that are used for the same purpose. Some argued that the tree was likely to be used for lumber, which is why such strange measures were taken to keep birds away. But others pointed out that the tree in the picture was already pretty damaged, and would be useless as lumber. The original poster decided that it had to be the work of someone not quite right in the head, and after a little more discussion on whether it was supposed to keep various types of animals away, the user shared another picture taken from slightly further away, as well as a nearby cemetery at the bottom of the mountain, and then said they'd head over to the occult boards to see if they could get some more help there. And that was that. Whether he actually did or whether he got any help over there remains unknown. In the end, the reason for the feathers remained a mystery, and most people assumed it was simply the work of the original poster himself to try and create a viral thread. Was it to keep birds away? Potentially. Was it a prank played by an unknown third party to scare people who found it? Maybe. Was it the work of someone with mental problems? Also a possibility. Or, in the end, was it the original poster himself? All of these options were possible, and, in the end, we'll likely never know what it really was. But what do you guys think about this one? Who could have put those feathers up on the tree? And why? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. On June 6th, 2017, a new channel user started a thread with the title, "There was a mysterious photo stuck to my desk. I was cleaning my desk at work and took all the drawers out when I noticed something stuck underneath it. There was a photo of something I don't really understand, with some kind of seal on the back. What is it? Is somebody trying to curse me? It's kinda creepy. If anyone knows what it is, please tell me." The user then shared 2 photos of what they found under their desk, which you can see here. One side, as you can see, looks like a circle of white light surrounded by darkness, while the other side featured a seal with some kanji in the middle. The poster found it stuck beneath his work desk when he took the drawers out and was worried that this strange card might be a curse. "It's no longer putting out curse waves. Burn it. Don't throw it away like you normally would," one person said. "Have you felt any strangeness in your torso lately? Particularly your chest?" asked another. Comments of the object being creepy poured in, but initially nobody seemed to know what it was. Curse or not, it certainly wouldn't be nice to find something like that hiding underneath your desk at work. What could it really be? "I was hoping it would be something good, but I guess it really is a curse?" the original poster asked. "I've been using this desk for 3 years, so am I the target? Or was it the previous owner? If you know what the photo and seal mean, please tell me. To burn it, I should visit a temple or some other place where these things are burnt, right? Sorry for asking so many questions." He also revealed that the photo, whatever it was quite small. Without the white border, it was only 45mm by 30mm. Basically the size of an average sticker. I appreciate that you showed us the actual pictures first, but I can't help but think this is fake, replied one user. Others seemingly confirmed that it appeared to be a curse, but what and by who was unknown. Others urged him to quit his job right away, but then he shared another photo, this time a close-up on the seal. He could make out one character, but the rest were too hard to read. Could anyone else figure it out? I think that's Goi Masahisa's spirit light photograph. There's probably a believer there. Someone replied several hours after the thread began. Goi Masahisa was, in short, the founder of the World Peace Prayer Society. After witnessing the devastation of the war, he dedicated himself to the attainment of world peace. He believed in spiritual healing, claiming to have healed himself of serious illness through spirituality, and this small card was basically a calling card of the religion. A type of talisman meant to bring good luck, not bad. The seal on the back featured the kanji for Yowake Kannon, although the first character used was slightly different. But in any case, it signified that the spirituality of humans would open up, and we would be invited to a higher state of consciousness. The card was not a curse, but rather a good luck charm from those involved in the World Peace Prayer Society. Naturally, this brought up a whole new set of questions. The card was not a curse, but who left it there? Why was it stuck to the bottom of his desk? "Thank you," the original poster replied. "I looked it up and found the exact same thing in other places. But it's strange that it was stuck to the back of my desk in a place that I wouldn't be able to find unless I took all the drawers out. Anyway, I'm glad it's not a curse. Sorry for causing such a fuss." The following day, the poster returned to the thread and revealed that he asked one of his colleagues about the desk. Apparently, it had been there for a long time, before even the previous user, and it had been moved numerous times during renovation and redecorating, so it was unclear who originally had it, and thus, who might have placed the image there. In the end, it wasn't a curse and nobody was out to kill him, but some level of mystery remained. Who exactly put the image there, and why, to this day remains unknown. Indeed, if you look up the characters for the seal, you can find other people asking the same question all over the internet, and even some previous Ni channel threads as well. One from 2012 revealed a person bought a second-hand desk and found the same thing taped under theirs as well. This thread went in much the same manner until someone revealed what it was, although in this case, the original poster had already thrown the card into a shredder because it was so creepy. It would seem that these cards were being stuck to numerous desks all over the country, but to this day, the reason why still remains unknown. The most likely answer is that it was simply a safe space for people to keep something that was spiritually significant to them. But then, after many long years, they simply forgot about them when the time came to move on from the desks. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Have you ever seen this picture before? Chances are good that you have, because it's pretty darn popular. It's been floating around the internet for a while now, although most people are unaware of the origins or even what's going on in the photo. We can see a woman with her neck bent at an apparently unnatural angle as she smiles creepily at the cameraman. She's the only person looking directly at whoever is taking the picture, while everyone else is focused on something off camera, adding to the weird, creepy feeling of it. But who is the woman, and what's really going on? Let's take a look. While it's also known as the woman looking at the camera, this photo mostly goes by the name Gokigenyo Kankyaku in Japanese, meaning, roughly, the how do you do audience member. She's smiling and tilting her head as if to say, how do you do? How are you today? This would normally be a pleasant question, but when you factor in the weird head tilt, the paleness of her skin, and the creepy smile, it's anything but. It's one of Japan's many words you mustn't search for, meaning that if you do, you'll be met with a creepy surprise. The entry for this particular photograph gives us a few details as to what it really is. It's said to come from the television show Lion no Gokigenyo, which is where the name actually comes from, and the woman was an audience member on this show. In fact, you can still find the actual footage this photo was taken from on the internet today, and we even have a date that the show aired, May 5th, 2009. So, if we have existing footage, and even a date that people can easily check for themselves, how is this photo still seen as a creepy, potential ghost photo? Well, naturally, most people are unaware of the photo's history or simply don't care enough to check. The photo first gained prominence after it was printed in a magazine sometime in 2010, which you can see here. Here, it's labelled as "The Woman Looking at the Camera," and the text details how it was taken during a public recording for a particular TV show. While everyone else is looking at the stage, this woman alone is looking right at the camera with a creepy smile and oddly bent neck. And, with her pale skin, it makes for a strange, unnatural, and creepy sight. After this was published, it naturally started to spread throughout Nichannel. You can find posts starting from June that same year, meaning the magazine likely came out around that time. People mentioned seeing that same magazine in the convenience store around the same time. A little digging uncovers that it was likely the MOOC titled No ni kuru abunai eizo, Dangerous Images for Your Brain, which came out in May 2010. That was the culprit. The MOOC features numerous strange and creepy pictures, some more edited than others. People immediately recognized the Gokigenyo set anyway, and then, as Nichannel is wont to do, people took the image and started changing it, bit by bit, to create an even scarier image. Much like the Make Me Cute image, it was often photoshopped in various ways, although in a far more subtle manner. People made the woman's skin even wider, or they made her eyes even bigger. Over time, most people remembered that the photo came from the set of a TV show, but it was perhaps more fun to simply think of it as a weird, creepy ghost photo than something that needed to be solved or exposed. It was, of course, not that hard to find out the truth. After all, there's literal video footage of the moment that still exists. Let's check it out here. As you can see, it's not very long, and the woman is clearly not a ghost. Her neck isn't even bent unnaturally, and she's certainly not pale. She tilts her head to her left for a moment while smiling at the camera, and then joins the rest of the audience in mimicking the host's gesture. You don't even have to look hard to find what was happening on the show at that particular moment. Host and comedian Kosakai Kazuki was rolling a dice at the time which landed on Unforgettable Story, and as he directed his attention towards the audience to have them repeat "unforgettable," he tilted his head. The woman is simply copying him, and happened to get caught on camera as she did it. Meaning, somebody took a capture of this moment, edited the woman so that her neck was bent just a little too far, lightened her skin, and then printed it in a magazine as a creepy ghost photo. That's pretty much the end of the story. As it turned out, the woman was even a regular audience member, and screen captures popped up of the woman sitting in the audience on different days and in different outfits. She was simply someone who enjoyed the show a lot and regularly went to live tapings. Then, someone caught her mimicking the host's head tilt on camera, did a bit of fine-tuning in Photoshop, and printed it in a magazine for all to see and, maybe, be horrified by. But what do you guys think about this one? Have you seen this image around before? Or perhaps others like it? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. I have another quick and fun little mystery for you this week. Have you ever seen this image before? Look closely. Can you see anything odd or out of the ordinary? At first glance, it just looks like an old building in the middle of the forest, right? But if you're eagle-eyed, I've no doubt you've already spotted what made this a funny little mystery on Channel a few years back. Keep zooming in. Closer. Closer. There it is. Kind of looks like a face, huh? You can check this mystery out for yourself right now on Google Maps. I'll leave a link in the comments. This was discovered near Junichi Shrine in Saitama Prefecture, not too far from Chichibu, which, if you're familiar with my other series here, is apparently one of the most cursed towns in all of existence. The footage was captured in February 2016, and if you look around, you can see all sorts of buildings rotten and falling down, covered in snow in the middle of the forest. There are also a few other spots nearby where you can view the very dilapidated remains of what appears to have been a shrine. A quick look around indicates that's not the case though. These ruins are actually from an old village that was long abandoned, and the nearby shrine, as evidenced by pictures, is still well maintained and functioning. So then, what's going on here, and why is there apparently a person inside an abandoned village looking at the Google Street View camera? Well, first things first, it's not actually the Google Street View camera. Users can submit their own data, which is what's going on here. We can also see from the same maps that it's not impossible to reach this location. There's a street fairly close by, and from there you can walk through the forest. Reaching it isn't a problem, and it's only a short distance from the shrine anyway. The paths are also supposedly well maintained. And considering that it's user-submitted data, it's not hard to think that maybe a friend joined this person and then hid inside the building when the shot was taken, knowing that the Google AI would blur their face and create a neat little mystery for those who stumbled upon it. Which is exactly what happened. Numerous threads have popped up over the years, and it has become somewhat infamous on Channel and other related websites. The details of the person and what they're doing there still remain unknown, but digging into the history of the village itself brings up some interesting information. For example, the now abandoned village was once called Take Village, and it's only a 10 or 15 minute walk from nearby Hinata Village. Numerous villages in the area were submerged when the Urayama Dam was completed, but Hinata escaped because of its high location. Still, even Hinata Village has become massively depopulated these days, and although it's not quite abandoned yet, few people remain there. With that said, nearby Take Village, the village in question, had a population of only 44 people in 10 houses by 1955, and then, over the years, everyone either died or moved out, and it now lies as you can see in the Google Maps photos, utterly abandoned and left for nature to reclaim. But perhaps more of interest to viewers of this channel is that this village was said to be one of the inspirations for Hanyuda Village in the PlayStation game Siren. Another nearby village, Yamatsukami, also played a part, another village that was depopulated after the construction of the dam. Then, in 2013, a man in his 20s was arrested for setting fire to some of the buildings in the village. A Jizo statue was also stolen from the entrance of the village, and there were rumors that tragedy struck because that statue was removed. locals are apparently still hoping for its return. You can view photos and even video from the village all over the internet, including alternate angles of the building in question. It's certainly not hard for a person to get inside, and the wooden door can easily be moved to allow access and then put back again to hide behind. The how is not so much the mystery here, but perhaps the why and who. Who took this photo and why? The easiest answer is that it was someone hoping to create something fun and creepy for Google Maps, and that's probably it. It doesn't have to be anything deeper than that. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. This week we're looking at an interesting little mystery that was, for a period, all the rage on Channel back in the early 2010s. On October 2nd, 2011, someone posted a thread to Channel with the title, "This bridge is amazing!" It included nothing but a link to a photo. This, of course, tends to elicit one of two reactions. People who can't click it fast enough to see what it is, and others who wait for someone else to do it, and then describe what the picture is in the thread. Immediately, the replies came in. "Seriously, that needs a warning for how grotesque it is. The thumbnail enough is this one of those jump scares? Ah, I forgot to mention, you really should be careful before clicking that link." And what was the image of? Well, you can see it for yourself right here. Of course, it's a standard scrolling jump scare. Perhaps not quite on the level of the Korean Bonchon-dong ghost comic, which was actually released only 2 months before this thread was posted, but it still managed to surprise at least a few people who clicked it. It's important to remember this was 2011, and the image was quite long, and a good majority of the people who use Channel did so on their phones. So scrolling on and on would build quite a bit of anticipation before finally hitting the scare at the bottom. Chances are good you've seen this picture before somewhere, but you just didn't know the exact history of it. That's what we're going to take a look at today. Now, if we just leave it at that, it's not much of a mystery, so let's dig a little further. Where did the original image come from? What bridge is it? Surprisingly, the answers are easily available and not too hard to find. First of all, the bridge in question is the Shiomitaki Suspension Bridge in Hananuki Gorge, Ibaraki Prefecture. You can drop right into Google Maps and check it out for yourself. The bridge is rather distinctive, so it wasn't hard for people to figure out where it was. It's also a gorgeous scenic spot, particularly in autumn, so it's easy to find pictures of it all over the internet. As for the image of the girl at the end, a reverse image search pulls up April 17th, 2008 as the earliest date this was found on the internet, although that page is no longer accessible, even with the Wayback Machine, so it's hard to say what context it was posted under. So, at the very least, it was around on the internet for at least a few years before it was added to the bridge picture, and it has been used numerous times for all sorts of internet scares since then as well. But what of the bridge picture itself? That's also not too hard to find. Turns out it came from a Japanese website called Let's Stitch, which is still up today. It's a website that collects panorama photos, and you can still find the original on there today. It's titled Vertigo in Japanese, and was taken on an Olympus C2500L camera. As for who put them together for the first time, well, that is still unknown. It's possible that it was the person who posted the thread to Channel in the first place, but it's also possible they found it elsewhere and then decided to share it. Considering that there is thus far no evidence of the picture existing before this thread, however, it seems likely that the original poster was also the creator. Since then, the image has been shared all over the internet, even up until modern times, and there are even slightly different versions with something other than a scary face at the bottom. This bridge is amazing! Also became a popular word you shouldn't search for, not long after the thread went up, which is a collection of Japanese terms that, if you plug into a search engine, will generally bring up some sort of image you might regret seeing. It's not an especially scary image, especially now, but it came out during a time when jump scares, even in still pictures, were all the rage, and it's still somewhat popular a full decade later. That makes it a pretty successful meme in my mind. But what do you guys think about this one? Have you seen it on the internet before, or any other images that are based off it? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time. Have you ever seen this photo before? It's a rather famous ghost photo on the Japanese internet, and if you look closely, you can see what looks like a pair of legs hanging in the top left window. Creepy, right? But did someone truly capture a body hanging from the window, or was there a less creepy explanation for what was going on? Let's take a look. First things first. The earliest evidence I can find of this photo appears to come from a tweet posted on December 4th, 2014. It featured two pictures, one a close-up on the supposed feet, and simply said, "Hanging at Sanyo High School." Sanyo is a high school in Okayama, so right off the bat we have a location at the very least. It would appear that someone visited this school late at night, took a photo, and then noticed something very creepy hanging in the window. But was it really someone hanging from the window? Being that the location was given right in the tweet, it didn't take long for students of the school to come out and reveal the exact location of that room. It was, apparently, the drawing room, and those things that looked like legs? Nah, it was simply the curtains. That's the curtain. I've confirmed this for myself and see it basically every day, said one person. I'm a current student. That's the drawing room. The curtain is simply tied in too. Don't be fooled by such dumb things. Indeed, if we go into Google Maps and look for Sanyo High School, you can see pretty much the exact angle the original photo was taken from, at the very least confirming that, yes, it was this school. The building in question is known as Building Number 2, and houses woodworking, engineering, and a whole bunch of other rooms, including the drawing room, if student reports are anything to go by. Now, Google Maps is not exactly the most effective source to work from when trying to look at the building, but at the very least we can see the same curtains as in the photo. Imagery of the window in question is terrible at best, but there it is on the 4th floor above that covered walkway down below. With the location locked down, the only question that remained was whether it really was a pair of legs hanging from the window or if it was just a curtain. As numerous people have pointed out over the years, if this was an image of someone's legs, why aren't they wearing any pants? There's no denying that, yes, they do look like legs if we go purely by the shape, but the colour? Well, it's a little strange. If we look at the windows in the rooms next to this one, we can see some dark curtains that are closed there that basically match the same colour of these supposed legs. And as someone who spent a decade working in Japanese schools, particularly old ones in the countryside, well, it really wasn't odd to tie curtains up like this. Generally, they do have something at the end of each window to clip them back, but they were often tied like this to get them out of the way as well. It's really not that uncommon or strange, and the only reason that this photo ever became a hot topic of conversation is because in the darkness, it really does look like some legs. And if it looks like legs hanging by a window, then that means someone took their own life and another person captured the horrifying moments after, right? This is a persistent mystery today, despite the fact that it has pretty much been solved since the moment it was first shared on Twitter nearly a decade ago. Numerous students from the school have pointed out that it's simply the curtains in the room that they use nearly daily, and yet there are others who insist that it really is a pair of legs, and therefore it's either a dead body or a ghost. Certainly makes for a more interesting story than simply curtains, doesn't it? But what do you guys think about this one? Does it look like legs to you? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.